What's up, people? Welcome back to MadMaker Reptile. So, it took about a month off for this whole quarantine nonsense, if you will. And I used the time to do a new upgrade setup for my Chinese water dragons, as well as a second enclosure, which I'll show you at the end, for some new critters. Uh, so, this is a lot like the enclosures that you've seen from me before, and if you haven't, you should check them out. But this has got some slight variations on it. It's the water is actually hooked up to a washing machine hookup, which you might find interesting, and it's also a lot larger than any enclosure for any reptile I've ever had, which I'm ecstatic about. Uh, the living space, if you will, measures 5 feet wide, 5 feet tall, and almost 3 feet deep front to back. With the addition of the base below and the hood, the heater hoods up above, it measures 8 feet tall, or just under. As you can see, it nearly touches the ceiling. Um, it also has a kind of prototype heating system that is not functioning right now, but I can still show it to you what I have in mind. It has all of the usual giant branches and jungle gym of vines and plants and rocks and substrate and all that good stuff that I always have in my setups. I do not have any backgrounds right now. When I pulled my old background out that you may have seen in my old video, it was basically starting to rot the entire enclosure. There's just no way to get behind that thing, and it doesn't dry out enough. And I'm looking for alternatives if I do anything at all. I rather like the way the white looks, so I may just stick with that. I don't think the lizards mind. The enclosure is not entirely finished, as you can probably tell. It still needs a door on the heat enclosure up on the top. I think I'm going to do curtains around the bottom as well as across the doors so I can close those up at night. Um, I also intend to do the entire bottom and pool with fiberglass to waterproof the bottom of the enclosure, which I did in my other smaller enclosure, which turned out great. I just haven't done it on this big one yet, but that'll be happening as well. And I still need to tidy up the wiring here and there and just button up little odds and ends like that. But there's still plenty here to show you. So why don't we go ahead and get into it? So I have one small air inlet down on the bottom just to let fresh air in. But back in here, you see there's another one a little larger. And what that is that's an opening to this long chimney, if you will. Just two pieces of plywood in the corner. At the top, there's a computer fan on a little speed controller. And the idea here is to try to collect all the heat that comes off of these fixtures. And I thought, well, why not try to utilize that energy? I'm hoping that will get the general air temperature up just a little bit. And this is another fan and thermostat that will evacuate heat from the enclosure if the temperature gets too high. Okay, so for the water system on this enclosure, I'm not going to get into great detail about it, but suffice to say, for drainage and water supply, it's hooked up to a washing machine hookup, which is proof that you can hook it up to anything with a drain and a water supply, any sink, any dryer, or not dryer, but washer. This is the same type of overflow water system, filtration system, sump system that I had in my old arrangement in California. And it has an aquarium heater down in it, just like before. Main difference is the drainage. I had a floor drain before. this one is draining to the drain for the washing machine. So it's pumped out through garden hose, and water supply is also through a garden hose. I got a couple of digital timers here that control both the misting schedule and as well as the lighting schedule. And this is the second setup that I built during the quarantine. I actually built this one first. It is 32 inches wide, 18 inches deep, and 48 inches tall on the inside. It's got a built-in base, and it has its own little gallon-and-a-half pool that drains to a bucket. The entire bottom of this terrarium is fiberglass reinforced. These guys are 5-month-old captive bred, male and female, sailfin dragons, Hydrosaurus wilsoni. Sailfin dragons, or at least these two guys, are absolutely voracious eaters that are so much more aggressive than Chinese water dragons. I will be showing you more of these guys for sure. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to like and subscribe. Throw a comment down below. Let me know if you're interested in seeing more about the water system. I'd be happy to make a video about it. Everyone have a good one. Be good to your lizards.